you can't focus, if your attention keeps slipping away, it's not because you're weak. It's because your mind is overloaded. So tonight, I'm going to give your attention a single path to follow. A trail up Mount Parnassus, the hoard Delphi, where every detail, mist, olive trees, marble, mountain breeze, pulls you away from the noise and back into stillness, naturally. If you want more long, immersive stories like this, subscribe to Across the Veil, leave a like, and comment where you're listening from. Now, get comfortable. We're starting the climb. We're on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, and the first thing you notice is the air, clean, thin, and strangely calm. The modern world is still out there, but it already feels farther away than it should. The path ahead isn't steep, it's steady. It doesn't demand speed, only presence. Under your steps, the ground shifts with small stones and dry grit, and every sound seems softened by the mountain itself. As you walk, the valley below begins to breathe. Mist gathers low, then rises, slow and patient, drifting between trees and rock, like a veil being lifted in reverse. Olive trees appear along the trail. Their trunks twist with age, and their leaves catch what little light remains, flashing silver when the wind passes through. A mountain breeze slides across your skin, cool and clean. And for a moment, your thoughts stop sprinting. Not because you force them to, because the scenery finally gives them something better to do. You keep moving upward, one step, then another, and with each step, your attention narrows, not into tension, but into clarity. You notice the spacing between your breaths. You notice how the air smells faintly of bay leaves and earth that cooled after sunset. You notice how the wind doesn't push, it guides. Delphi is still ahead, hidden by distance and fog, but you can feel it coming. The mountain changes subtly as you climb, as if the landscape is becoming more deliberate. The rocks are paler, the ground feels older, and scattered along the path, you begin to see small fragments of marble, like the first hints of a place built to hold quiet. This is how the story works tonight. It doesn't ask you to concentrate. It leads you. When your mind tries to jump ahead, the trail brings it back. When it drifts to the side, the wind returns it. When it tries to split into 10 directions, the mountain gives it one direction that's enough. Mist thickens slightly as the path bends. It doesn't block your way. It softens the edges of everything, turning the world into a calmer version of itself. Even the distance feels gentler. Even time feels less sharp. And then, through the fog, a faint geometry appeared. Not dramatic, not sudden, just a shape that doesn't belong to nature alone. A pale vertical line, another. The suggestion of columns, far ahead, catching the earliest moonlight, marble. White stone that seems to glow without shining, as if it remembers sunlight and is learning how to hold the moon. Delphi doesn't announce itself. It waits, patient, quiet, and certain. You continue the climb. The olive leaves whisper softly, and somewhere far below, night insects begin their steady chorus. The sound is distant, almost like a memory. And the more you listen, the more your attention stays with what's right in front of you. This is the single path you came for. Not a task, not a test, just a trail. The temple grows clearer as you approach. Columns rise from the mist like calm guardians, standing in lines that feel less like architecture and more like intention. The marble steps are cool in the moonlight, and the air around them changes again, as if the sanctuary holds its own climate. Here, the mountain breeze becomes quieter, not weaker, just more respectful. The mist curls around the edges of stone and drifts across the ground in slow layers. The olive trees thin out near the sanctuary, but their presence lingers, like a promise of safety nearby. People once came here to demand answers about destiny. They wanted certainty, a sentence that could close the open space of tomorrow. But that's not what we're here for tonight. Tonight, Delphi is not a stage. It's a refuge. Because the most useful thing for an overloaded mind is not more information. It's a reduction. Fewer doors, fewer alarms, fewer imaginary emergencies. And Delphi offers that reduction in the simplest way possible, by being quiet and staying quiet long enough for you to match it. You step closer to the marble. You can almost feel the temperature of it without touching it. Cool, steady, unchanged. The kind of steadiness that doesn't argue with you. It just exists. Your attention settles again. The mist, the stone, the wind, the sound of leaves, the soft distance of crickets. If your thoughts return, they return slower. If worries appear, they appear smaller, because the mountain has given your mind a scale that makes everything else feel less urgent. You stand at the threshold of the sanctuary, and you realize something subtle. This place doesn't silence you. It holds you. It doesn't force stillness. It teaches it by example. And now we begin the deeper part of the journey. Not deeper into your mind, but deeper into the landscape. Deeper into the rhythm of the path. Deeper into the kind of quiet that restores focus without effort. As the stars brighten above Mount Parnassus, the marble of Delphi keeps its pale glow. Mist rises and thins in slow waves. Olive leaves flash silver, then darken again. The mountain breeze passes through, cool and clean, like a reset. Stay with the trail, one step at a time, and let the path do the work. Now we move past the first steps of the sanctuary, not inside a building, not into a room, but into an atmosphere. Delphi at twilight has a quality that is hard to describe if you've never felt it. The air seems to contain less urgency. The space feels more spacious than it should, as if the mountain is giving you permission to take up room again. You walk slowly along the marble edge, where the ground shifts from dirt to stone. The transition is gentle, but your body notices it. Stone holds temperature differently. Stone holds sound differently. Your footstep changes, and the world answers with a quieter echo. Mist drifts in shallow layers, not thick enough to hide anything completely, but thick enough to soften outlines. It turns corners into suggestions. It makes distance feel less demanding. It makes every object feel like it belongs to the same calm system. This is why it works for focus. When your mind is overloaded, it grabs everything. It tries to monitor every threat, every possible failure, every unfinished thought. It turns the whole world into a wide, open dashboard of alarms. But a landscape like this reduces the dashboard. It gives you one thing at a time: stone, wind, leaves, mist, breath. So the mind stops scanning for 10 things at once. It begins to follow one thing, then the next, and the next. And that is how attention recovers. Not through force, through sequence, through a path. You move along the outer edges of the sanctuary, and you notice the marble is not perfect. It's smooth, but not artificial. It has tiny marks, faint lines, subtle imperfections. It's the kind of surface that has lived under hands and feet and centuries of weather. Even in moonlight, you can sense the texture, a cool steadiness, a quiet resilience. Somewhere nearby, olive trees stand like guardians of their own kind. Their leaves respond to the mountain breeze with a sound that is almost like soft paper, not sharp, not loud, just a gentle shifting that repeats and repeats and repeats. This repeating is important. Overloaded minds hate repetition at first. They want novelty. They want the next thing, the next update, the next signal. But repetition is what brings the nervous system down. Repetition tells the body nothing new is happening. Nothing is chasing you. You can stop bracing. So the leaves repeat their sound. The wind repeats its motion. The mist repeats its slow rise and drift. And your attention begins to accept the pattern. You don't have to do anything. You only have to keep following. Delphi at twilight also changes how you hear. In normal life, there's a constant layer of mechanical noise. Distant engines, refrigerators, screens, notifications, even silence is filled with electricity. Here, the baseline is different. Here, silence has more depth. You can hear small things without trying. You can hear your own inhale. You can hear the pause before the exhale. You can hear the way the night insects pulse in the distance, not as chaos, but as rhythm. A simple rhythm. And rhythm is another way attention heals. Your mind doesn't want to be pinned down. It wants movement. So we give it movement. We give it a rhythm to ride. Not a fast rhythm, a slow one. A rhythm that carries you like a current. Now as you move a little closer, the columns become more present. White marble rises into the moonlight with an almost quiet authority. They don't look aggressive. They don't look proud. They look patient. Like they've seen enough urgency to know it doesn't last. And in the spacing between the columns, there's a kind of emptiness that feels safe. Not empty like absence. Empty like room. Room for breath. Room for thought to slow down. Room for the nervous system to stop gripping. This is where the idea of destiny can feel different. In normal life, destiny feels like pressure. Like you have to become something. Like you have to get it right. Like you're running out of time. But here, destiny feels more like landscape. A path that exists whether you rush or not. A path that doesn't insult you for resting. A path that continues tomorrow. And that simple idea is enough to calm the mind. Because the mind isn't only overloaded with tasks. It's overloaded with the fear that if it stops, everything collapses. Delphi doesn't argue with that fear. It simply stands there. And standing there is the lesson. Now let's move through the sanctuary slowly, as if we're walking through a dream that is also real. A dream with marble in it. A dream with olive leaves. A dream where the mist is not hiding danger, but filtering the world into something softer. As we walk, I want you to notice something. The mind will try to wander. It will try to invent problems. It will try to replay old scenes. It will try to jump to tomorrow. That's normal. When it happens, don't fight it. Just bring it back to the path. Bring it back to one detail. The next step, the next breath, the next sound of leaves, the next drift of mist, the next pale sheen of marble. This is how you train focus without effort. You return calmly to one thing, again and again and again. Now, there's a kind of story that belongs to Delphi, but it's not the loud version, not the version filled with shouting crowds and dramatic declarations. Tonight, we're using Delphi as a quiet mechanism, a place that holds the mind in sequence. So the stories we tell here will be quiet too. Small stories, human stories, stories that move slowly, like mist. Imagine a traveler arriving here long ago, not as a hero, not with a parade, just someone with dust on their legs and a tiredness behind the eyes. They've been carrying too many thoughts, too many possibilities, too many fears. The same way you have, they climb the same steady path. They pass the olive trees. They feel the mountain breeze. They see the marble ahead, faintly glowing. And the whole time, their mind keeps doing what minds do. It jumps. It worries. It thinks of what could go wrong. It thinks of what they should have done differently. It thinks of the people back home. It thinks of what happens if the future is cruel. But then they reach this place, and something in the environment makes all of those thoughts feel slightly less convincing. Not because the thoughts disappear, but because the body feels something more real than thought. Cool marble under moonlight, mist drifting in slow layers, leaves moving in repetition, and the traveler realizes, without anyone telling them, that the nervous system believes what it can touch. So they sit, not as surrender, as recalibration. They sit beneath an olive tree, and they listen. At first, it feels almost uncomfortable, because they're used to noise. They're used to stimulation. They're used to being pulled. But then the wind repeats. The leaves repeat. The insects repeat. The mist repeats, and something inside them starts matching the rhythm. That's what we're doing here. This is not meditation as a job. This is attention as a path. Now we shift closer to the heart of the sanctuary. The marble steps rise in simple lines. The architecture doesn't shout. It gives structure. It gives proportion. It gives the mind something ordered and calm to look at. Order matters. An overloaded mind is often trying to create order in chaos. It keeps checking. It keeps sorting. It keeps scanning because it wants to stabilize. But here, the environment is already stable, so the mind doesn't have to work as hard. The mind can borrow stability from the place. That's the resolution promised in the hook. A single path. Stable environment, a sequence that carries you. Now the mist moves again. It drifts across the steps like a slow tide. It catches the moonlight faintly, making the air look almost luminous, not bright, just gently alive. And as the mist moves, it changes the way time feels, because time is normally measured by urgency, by interruptions, by deadlines, by messages, by noise. But here, time is measured by drift, by the slow rise of mist, the steady motion of leaves, by the cooling of marble, by the stars brightening as the sky deepens. And when time is measured by drift, it stops feeling like an enemy. It starts feeling like space. Now let's walk along the columns. Notice how they create corridors of quiet. Each column is a vertical line that the eyes can rest on. And resting the eyes is another way to rest the mind. You don't need to stare. Just let your gaze land softly. One column, then the space between columns, then the next column. It's a gentle pattern. Your attention likes patterns. It relaxes inside them. Now listen to the wind. The mountain breeze is not constant. It comes in small waves. A soft touch, then a pause. A soft touch, then a pause. And in those pauses, there's a stillness so clean you can feel it in your chest. This is the kind of stillness that gives focus back. Because focus is not forcing attention to stay on something. Focus is what happens when attention is no longer being ripped in 10 directions. And here, nothing is ripping you. So attention returns. Now deeper into the sanctuary, there is a feeling of being watched, but not in a threatening way. Not like surveillance, more like presence, like the stars are aware, like the mountain is aware, like the olive trees have been here long enough to to recognize the shape of human worry and not be impressed by it. This kind of presence can feel like safety, because safety is not only locks and walls. Safety is the absence of urgency. Safety is the lack of pressure. Safety is the ability to breathe without bracing. And Delphi at twilight is built out of those things. Now we pause again, not to meditate, just to let the scene settle. Let the mist drift. Let the leaves whisper. Let the marble hold its cool steadiness. Let the mountain breeze pass, and then pass again. Stay with the path. Stay with the single sequence. If the mind wanders, bring it back to one detail. Mist, olive trees, marble, mountain breeze, fate, stillness. Now, I'm going to tell you another small story. This one is about a stonemason, someone who worked with marble in Delphi. Not a priest, not a prophet, a person whose job was to touch stone until it became form. Imagine them arriving before dawn. Cold air, quiet air, the marble still holding the chill of night. They run their fingers across the surface. They check for flaws. They listen for the sound of the chisel. They don't rush, because marble punishes rushing. Marble cracks if you force it. Marble breaks if you strike the wrong place. So the stonemason learns patience. They learn to work in sequence. One strike, then another, then another. They learn to read the stone. They learn to feel where the stone wants to split and where it wants to hold. And over time, that patience becomes a kind of calm. Not because life becomes easy, but because their body becomes trained to follow one thing at a time. Stone teaches that. Delphi teaches that. And that's why this place is a solution for an overloaded mind. Because it is an environment made of sequence, made of patience, made of slow repetition. Now return to the present. Return to the twilight sanctuary. The columns are still there. The mist is still moving. The olive leaves are still whispering. Nothing is demanding your attention, so your attention can become whole again. This is the moment where many people start to feel their thoughts slow. It might not be dramatic. It might not be instant. It might just be one small change. A longer exhale, a softer forehead, less tension in the hands, a sense that you don't need to monitor everything. That's the shift. And once it starts, the story can carry it further. Now we move to the edge of the sanctuary, where the ground drops away into the valley. You can't see the bottom clearly, because the mist covers it like a pale ocean. But you can sense depth. You can sense distance. And distance is another quiet remedy, because overload makes the world feel small, tight, crowded, pressed against you. But distance opens it. Distance reminds you that the mind is not the whole sky. It's just weather passing through it. Look out over the mist. Imagine it moving like slow water. Imagine the valley breathing out. Imagine the mountain breeze crossing the surface, making gentle ripples in the fog. Now bring your attention back to the path, one detail at a time, one step at a time. Now we move again. The sanctuary has many stones, many edges, many corners, but the mist softens them. It removes sharpness. It makes the place feel older, kinder, less interested in perfection. And perfection is often what overload is chasing. The mind tries to perfect the future. It tries to plan every outcome. It tries to eliminate risk. It tries to become safe through control. But Delphi offers a different kind of safety. A safety that comes from being held by something steady. Even when you don't know what happens next, that is where fate becomes gentle. Because fate is often imagined as a verdict, but fate can also be imagined as a current, something that moves quietly regardless of your panic. And if it moves regardless, then you can stop fighting it for a moment. You can rest. Now, as the night deepens, the stars become clearer, not all at once, one by one, like small lights turning on in a distant city. Except the city is not busy. It is silent. It is above you. It is too far away to care about your schedule. The sanctuary is under those stars, and the marble looks slightly different now. Marble changes under moonlight. It becomes less white and more pale blue, almost. It holds shadow in a gentle way. It turns the columns into quiet silhouettes, and silhouettes are comforting. Silhouettes give shape without detail, and an overloaded mind needs less detail. Less detail means fewer things to process. So the night is doing the same thing as the mist. It's simplifying. It's reducing. It's giving you fewer edges. Now we return to the olive trees again. Their leaves move softly. They are close enough that you can imagine the sound clearly. A repeating whisper, a repeating hush, a repeating rhythm. Let that repetition do its work. Let it carry your attention. If you notice your mind trying to switch tracks, return to the leaves. Return to the breeze. Return to the mist. Return to the marble. This is the path. This is the solution. Now I want you to imagine the sanctuary without people. No crowds, no torches, no footsteps, only the architecture and the night. This is Delphi in its most restorative state, a place that exists without performance, a place that doesn't need to prove anything. And in that kind of place, your nervous system can finally stop auditioning for danger, because danger often feels like possibility. It feels like what might happen. But possibility collapses when the environment is stable. Stable environment, stable rhythm, stable repetition. Your mind recognizes it. It relaxes. Now we walk again, slow, along the marble. You can imagine the coolness under your fingertips if you reach out. Smooth stone, a slight grain, a small imperfection, a faint line, a place where time has touched the surface. Time has been here longer than your worries. That thought is not meant to belittle you. It's meant to relieve you. Because if time has held this stone for centuries, then time can hold your mind for tonight. For tonight, you don't have to hold everything. The mountain can hold it. The sanctuary can hold it. The story can hold it. Now we move toward a deeper stillness, not by going faster, but going slower. Take one detail and stay with it for a moment. Mist rising, then leaves whispering, then marble glowing, then the mountain breeze passing, then the stars watching, then your breath returning. One thing at a time. This is focus returning. Now we introduce another quiet figure, a caretaker, someone who tended the sanctuary, not glamorous, not famous, a person who swept, who carried water, who kept small things in order. They move through the sanctuary in the early hours when the mist is still low. They see the columns in the pale light. They hear the leaves. They feel the breeze. And their work is simple. Sweep, place, arrange, fix. Small actions, repeated. And that repetition becomes their peace. Overloaded minds want to fix everything at once. They want to solve the whole life. They want to repair every thread. But the caretaker knows something else. You do one thing, then the next, then the next. And over time, order emerges. Not perfect order. Enough order. And enough is a sacred word when you're exhausted. Enough breath. Enough quiet. Enough rest. Enough. Now let the word settle. Enough. Now we return to the present. The sanctuary is still. The mist continues its slow motion. The olive trees continue their gentle repetition. The marble continues to glow without shining. The mountain breeze continues to pass like a cool hand. This is the environment that restores focus, not by forcing you to concentrate, by removing the need to fight. Now, over the next stretches of this story, we will keep doing the same thing. We will walk, we will notice, we will return, we will repeat. Because repetition is not boredom. Repetition is repair. Your mind will learn, quietly, that it can stop scanning. It can stop racing. It can stop chasing. It can follow one path. Now we move to the edge of the steps again. The valley below is still covered in mist. The mist looks like a pale sea. The mountain breeze draws invisible lines across it. The stars above remain steady, and for a moment, the idea of destiny feels soft. Not a threat, not a countdown, current, quiet inevitability. And quiet inevitability is calming, because it means you don't have to push as hard as you think. Now stay with the path. Stay with one thing. If you drift, that's fine. Drift is allowed. The trail is still here. The mountain is still here. Delphi is still here. Now the story continues, and the pace stays calm. But the movement continues. We don't freeze in place. We keep walking, because walking gives the mind a forward line. A forward line is the opposite of spiraling. Spiraling is where overload lives. The path is where focus lives. So we keep the path, one step, then another. And the mist keeps moving, and the leaves keep whispering, and the marble keeps glowing, and the mountain breeze keeps passing. Now, as the night deepens further, you may feel the heaviness of sleep beginning to appear at the edges. If it does, that's good. Let it come naturally. Don't chase it. Don't test it. Don't measure it. Just let it happen as the story continues. Because you're not trying to win sleep. You're letting the environment invite it. Now, I'm going to slow the language slightly. Not slower in pace, but simpler in shape. That helps 11 labs keep a smooth tone. It also helps your attention rest. Mist in the valley. Olive leaves in the breeze. Marble under moonlight. Quiet in the columns. Stars above the sanctuary. Breath in your chest. Stillness around you. One path, one trail, one direction. And with each repetition, the mind learns that it does not have to split itself into pieces. It can be one thing again. It can be here. Now we move again. And the sanctuary becomes less a place you visit and more a place you inhabit. Not physically, nervously, your nervous system begins to copy the sanctuary. Stable, cool, quiet, patient. And that copying is the resolution. That is what you were promised. A single path to follow. A place that reduces overload into sequence. Now we continue, and we continue, and we continue, until the mind stops reaching for new noise. Until attention settles into the rhythm of the mountain. Until the story becomes a steady line you can rest on. And when you wake later, you will remember the path. Mist, olive trees, marble, mountain breeze, fate, stillness, one trail. If this story helped your mind feel lighter, if it helped your focus return, subscribe to Across the Veil, leave a like, and comment where you listened from. I read every comment, and I'll meet you again on the path in the mist at Delphi.